there, I'm Kim from This Old Baker, and you're listening to a space where we talk about scratch cooking, pantry mixes, freezer meals, and simple ways to make feeding your family feel a whole lot more doable. No perfection, no pressure, just real life kitchens and real life solutions. So if you've ever stood in front of your fridge at 5 o'clock wondering what on earth you're going to make, you're in the right place. Somewhere along the line, we were handed convenience food and called it progress. And I don't know about you, but nobody stopped to ask if it actually made things easier. Because if it did, we wouldn't be this tired. We wouldn't be standing in front of the fridge at 5 o'clock, staring at food we bought with good intentions, wondering why it still feels like we have nothing to make. We wouldn't feel that quiet pressure every single day to figure it out again. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, over and over, like some kind of loop nobody showed us how to get out of. And here's the part that doesn't get said enough. It's not that you don't know how to cook, it's that you were never taught how to feed a family. Those are two very different things. We were taught recipes, we were taught ingredients, maybe a handful of go-to meals, but nobody really sat us down and said, here's how you build a kitchen that works for you. Here's how you stop starting from scratch every single day. So what do? We chase solutions. We try meal planning like it's going to fix everything. We scroll recipes, save them, pin them, screenshot them. And then when it's time to actually cook, we're still stuck. Because a recipe doesn't solve the problem. It just delays it until tomorrow. And then somewhere along the way, we were told convenience would save us. Boxed dinners, pre-made sauces, frozen shortcuts. And listen, I'm not here to knock any of that. There's a time and a place. But what nobody tells you is this. Convenience still requires you to decide. It still requires you to plan. It still leaves you standing there asking, what are we eating tonight? So now you're tired, you're spending more than you want to. And somehow it still feels harder than it should. That's not failure. That's a missing system. Because feeding a family isn't about pulling off a perfect dinner every night. It's about having a rhythm, a base, something you can lean on when your energy is gone and your brain is done making decisions for the day. This is where things started to shift for me. Not when I found the perfect recipe, but when I stopped relying on recipes altogether as the solution. Instead, I started looking at my kitchen like a system. What do I make over and over again? What ingredients keep showing up? What can I prepare once and use in 3 different ways? How do I make sure that when I walk into my kitchen, I'm not starting from zero? That's where pantry cooking comes in. And I think it gets misunderstood a lot. Pantry cooking isn't about being old-fashioned or stocking shelves just for the sake of it. It's about control. It's about having the pieces already in place. So dinner doesn't feel like a full production every single night. When you have a base mix ready to go, you're not measuring 10 spices on a Tuesday night when you're already exhausted. When you've got a freezer meal prepped, you're not negotiating with yourself about whether takeout would just be easier. You're not reacting. You're just following through. And that is a completely different feeling. Because the truth is, the hardest part of cooking isn't the cooking. It's the deciding. It's the starting. It's the mental load of doing it again and again and again with no real structure holding it together. And when you don't have that structure, everything feels heavier than it needs to be. Add in the budget pressure, because let's be honest, groceries are not what they used to be. You go to the store, You spend more than you planned, and you still walk out feeling like you didn't get what you need. So now the pressure doubles. You don't want to waste food, you don't want to overspend, and you definitely don't want to cook something nobody eats. That's a lot to carry into one meal. And then there's the expectation piece. Somewhere we picked up this idea that feeding our families means producing something different, balanced, and impressive every single night. Like we're running a restaurant. Nobody trained us to operate. But real kitchens, the ones that actually work, they repeat, they reuse, they simplify, they don't chase new, they build on what's already there. So if you've been feeling like cooking is harder than it should be, if you're exhausted by the constant decisions, if you're spending money and still feeling stuck, it's not you. It's the way we were taught to approach it. Or honestly, the way we weren't taught at all. Because once you start shifting from, what am I making tonight? To, what system am I building in my kitchen? Everything changes. You stop trying to solve dinner in one moment, and you start setting yourself up for the whole week. You make a mix once, and it shows up in multiple meals. You prep something simple, and it carries you through a couple of days. You stop expecting yourself to start from scratch every time you walk into the kitchen. And maybe most importantly, you give yourself permission to make this easier. Not perfect, not Pinterest worthy, just easier. Because feeding your family shouldn't feel like a daily uphill climb. It should feel like something you've already got a handle on. Even on the days when you're tired, busy, or just plain over it. And if nobody ever taught you that before, now, you know.